Hello there folks, my name's Ben and welcome to another Shots Fired Airsoft video, and today we welcome an airsoft company onto the channel that really is overdue. Now you'll know Tokyo Marui if you're into airsoft. They are a Japanese brand that essentially has pretty much the best reputation in airsoft. Their guns out of the box are generally well known for performing like you would hope that other airsoft guns would perform for you out of the box, and quite often you end up modifying other brands of airsoft to fire like a standard Tokyo Marui does. Now in front of me, obviously, I have a high Capa 4.3. It's a tactical custom edition. Beautiful box. As always, Tokyo Marui, they always go a bit further than a lot of other companies in terms of their packaging. And the reason that we've got a 4.3 high Capa on the channel, and the reason it's a TM, is primarily because I want to do an unboxing, a review, and then we're going to modify it. And what we're going to do in terms of modification is we're going to fit it with a lot of 3D printed parts. So we're not so much going to mess with the inner workings of the weapon, but we're going to make an extremely light competitive build that I want to use in CQB, and I'm going to do it on the channel. So that's why I bought a high Capa 4.3. Now the high Capa 4.3 has essentially a shorter slide and inner barrel than a 5.1, which is obviously, you probably have heard of, like the Tokyo Marui high Capa Gold Match 5.1, which is sort of like the, well, ironically the gold standard in airsoft high Capas. The 4.3 has a shorter inner barrel, a shorter overall slide, and is generally known for losing a little bit of range but gaining a very responsive and snappy blowback and cycle speed. And we're going to perform a couple of tricks on this that will make it fire like a 5.1 but retain the snappiness of the 4.3. So without further ado, let's get in and see what we actually get inside the box. Okay, so the first thing we come across is a lovely booklet of instructions. Majority of this is Japanese. I will pop this open in a little bit and we'll have a look, because obviously it requires a little bit of unpacking. I will put that aside for a minute, and there we have our beautiful weapon. Excellent packaging, really nice, lots of branding, and just, yeah, it's so much more polished as a product than a lot of the other airsoft weapons that we've unboxed on the channel. Here we have a full metal magazine, a plastic base plate, follower spring, lovely and smooth, standard square flat gas router, it's your exhaust valve, plastic feed lips, inlet valve there. These magazines, I don't know if the same is true for the high Capa as a lot of other Tokyo Maruis, however they tend to not particularly like green gas. These are built to run on 134 or sort of Neutral 1, that sort of thing. So we'll see how it takes green gas. I'm going to try and get it in there. If not, I'll use Neutral 1.0 for the minute. However, I do have WE mags, which I think should fit in this and will hold green gas. A lot of these will overpressure and spit the gas back out, essentially, if you try and overfill or overpressurize them. So that's the magazine. Other thing we have, we've got an unjamming rod down here. I believe this is simply just a little piece of packaging. We've got, in this little section at the side, pieces for dry firing, so you can fit these in your mag and dry fire your weapon to your heart's content. And we have a bag of BBs. I'll just pop those back under there. And that's pretty much like the initial sort of accessories and stuff that you get with it. Let's have a look at the gun itself. So there you go, as you can see, we've got OPS Tactical .45 on the slide. If I bring it up to the camera, there you can see it's really beautifully made. if you know your Tokyo Marui lore, you'll know precisely why this pistol has a plastic ABS slide, and it is because the Japanese airsoft producers are not allowed to actually produce a pistol with a certain amount of metal. So this has metal internal parts, the frame is metal, it's aluminium. We have plastic pistol grips, as you would probably expect, and obviously they say like the blowback unit and all that is going to be metal, but the actual slide itself is plastic because their law demands that the slide is plastic. The OSTMs, we get a little barrel plug, so we don't end up with crap getting in our barrel during shipping. And you'll notice in there, like most Tokyo Maruis, the barrel is not threaded, which is something that a WE or Army Armament or something similar does actually have over the TM out the box. On there we always have a little hop-up system tag on the grip. Looking at the other side, this is a non-ambidextrous gun, so we don't have even a shoulder safety or a magazine release on this side. A bit less in terms of markings on the slide itself, and if I bring it in there, you can see made in Japan, Tokyo Marui, OpsTac.45. So all in all, absolutely beautifully made pistol. I've got to say, the feeling of this, if I just rack it for you, if you can hear, it feels like someone's done some work to a WE. I know that's probably going to get a bit of a gasp from people, but it feels like a modified WE if it had a plastic slide. Like it's got a stronger recoil spring in. It works, it's beautiful. If you see that nozzle immediately releasing there from the hop unit and straight back into the blowback unit. Don't think we're going to have a problem with nozzle spring out of the box anyway. If we want to modify it, we might. Lovely skeletonized hammer at the back, and as I say, like on this, we've got a single shoulder safety. It's not on both sides like it is on a lot of the other stuff that we've unboxed. Standard beaver tail safety, so you can't pull the trigger until you hold it in, so you can't fire the gun accidentally if you're not holding it properly. And that is like an initial sort of overview of the weapon. So I'm just going to get this little box out of the way, get the scales out and have a little weigh up and see what this thing weighs, and we'll have a little look at the manuals as well. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so you're back with me, and this is the paraphernalia that you get with a TM weapon in your little manual sleeve, and we have some great little Japanese leaflets. Unfortunately, I cannot read them, and there's not an ounce of English on them, so that's entertaining. It's one of those things, to be honest, I'll probably end up sticking these on the wall somewhere, because they're really rather cool. Obviously, that we have some fairly self-explanatory pictures about the barrel plug not firing the weapon, you know, when you're not really meaning to. We have a great little safety sheet with lovely little pictures on of how to not do things. We have 5 shooting targets, which is nice to get in the box. Obviously they have high hopes for accuracy because this is not a very large target, but it does claim high kick and high grouping on the box and the manuals, so we shall see. To be honest, the reputation that precedes this weapon, I don't think we're going to have a problem with it. We have a single pamphlet here, and this opens out into an overview of both the 4.3 and the 5.1. Again, the majority of it is in Japanese. There is a little bit of English in this. You see overall length, weight, and all that sort of stuff there. Other side, we have a very useful exploded diagram, and yet more claims of hop-up, because every airsoft gun pretty much has a hop-up. So, but they're very proud of it. And then on the back, we actually have a story of high Capa 4.3, which unfortunately, again, entirely in Japanese. So, not so much useful to us. And then we have a high Capa 5.1 manual, which I'm guessing they pop in both the 5.1 and 4.3. And that is a sort of a more in-depth look at the features and operations of the gun. So you can see on the lock back, we've got how to adjust and use the hop, beaver tail safety and the shoulder safety, how to clear the weapon out, how to use the barrel plug, remove the slide. Essentially a lot of useful information, as long as you're okay with kind of using the pictures translated from Japanese. And there's yet another exploded diagram. So I'm guessing this is the 5.1 manual, and this is the high Capa 4.3 sort of addendum that you get to sort of update the instructions to the 4.3. And indeed on the back this has the story of high Capa 5.1. So that concludes our little look at the manuals that you get in the sleeves. And I'm just going to grab my scale and we'll have a little look at how much this weighs. So just before we get into the weighing, I can't wait any longer. I'm going to get some gas in this and we're going to see what the cycling's like. Okay, so it seems to have taken a fill of green gas fine. Just pop that in there. Rack her back, and it will lock back obviously because it's on. It's now got an empty mag. Hit the slide release. Feels brilliant. Just going to hold that slide release down. I'm just going to put a couple of dry fires. Wow, does that blow back? That has a lot of kick and it feels very, very snappy and responsive. That is very impressive. The only thing I felt that really blows back like that is, or cycles like that, is actually my WE7, because that's only really got half a slide, so the slide's kind of cut there. It's only really this bit of the slide that actually goes backwards and forwards, although obviously it is metal so it is heavier. But that is one hell of a cycling speed. Not used to that. That's very impressive indeed. So let's weigh it. Okay there folks, here we go. I'm going to pop this tag off. It's officially now not a new gun. Pop the barrel plug out, because every little helps, and insert the magazine, and there we are. We have a completely ready to fire TM 4.3, and we weigh in at 804 grams with the magazine in. If I pop the mag out, that brings us back down to 511 grams, so it's quite a lightweight piece. Magazine is quite heavy, as you would expect for most gas blowback guns, but it certainly doesn't feel badly weighted, and it is a lovely weapon to hold. I mean, to be honest, the high Capas are pretty much a staple of CQB sidearm, and it's precisely why I've picked this to be sort of my main sort of CQB weapon. Obviously I do sometimes run what you would refer to as primaries, like sort of AEGs and big gas blowback M4 rifles and such, but really in the environment that I play in, a pistol is more than enough to get done what we need to get done. And this is pretty much the best pistol for the job, and we're going to make it better, hopefully. So yeah, a nice lightweight weapon there. This row here, I'm going to pop the magazine out. I'm going to bring the slide back to the standard position. This comes apart just like any other high Capa. As long as I can get my fingers in there. There you go, so you remove that. You see it's got a nice bit of lube on it. Again, we're expecting a good build here, because this is a TM. They take great care to make sure that these are actually put together well out of the box. And as you can see there's your frame and grip assembly. All good stuff. We rarely have to do anything to these in terms of build out of the box, but it will just work. And that isn't just me saying that, that is people like Steve on Angry Ball Airsoft. He'll often just leave these, apart from maybe doing some updates cosmetically like different coloured grip bolts, maybe a different trigger, he pretty much leaves the frame and grip of the pistol exactly the same as it does come out of the box. The slide itself is nice and lightweight. I mean, it is like really light compared to say your typical WE metal slide. So if I just pop this forward and the guide plug back if I can. Oh, there we go. There we are. So there's our guide plug. We've got a recoil spring, which is pretty soft considering how nice it feels when it's on there. We have a one-piece metal guide rod with a what do you call it, a buffer on the back, which is rubber, so the gun does have a nice soft stop for when the slide's hammering backwards and forwards. This should enable me to pop the front the outer barrel out, I think anyway. There we are. So a bit of a fumble there. Okay, so the slide is really light without the innards in. It is very, very light indeed. There's our TM blowback unit, which is going to be one of the best ones in the business. So I realise I'm doing this off to the side, but that's where my camera focuses well. Yeah, the nozzle spring does leave a little bit to be desired. However, we've seen the gun just as I was racking the slide back. It's definitely going to get the job done for now. However, I heard the hot ticket is a 140% nozzle spring upgrade on these, but it runs so smoothly. I mean, even with the sort of weak spring it's got in it, it returns every time. It's clean, it doesn't get hung up, doesn't grate. It's just, you can tell the tolerances on these weapons are brilliant. So I'll pop that down, and this is where the magic is in a TM. So we've got our plastic outer barrel, as you would expect. It is a plastic build weapon. And then we have our hop, has a dial adjuster on it like you would expect. Fairly standard fare. We have a non-removable, it's like a barrel stay. This is on the WEs as well, but in the WEs it's a screw on. The outer barrel is extremely light. But at the same time, it isn't going to fall apart in your hands. I can't really bend it with my fingers. And then this is our TM barrel, and as you can see, it's a very short barrel because it's a 4.3, and this is one of the tricks that you can do, is to reinstall the 5.1 barrel in the 4.3, and as long as you have an outer barrel with an external thread, you can actually run a 5.1 barrel in the 4.3, retain the snappy firing performance, and have the range and the barrel length of the 5.1. This is where the Tokyo Marui gold dust resides, or the fairy dust, and this will fire better than a lot of modified guns, just from how they build the hop chamber. And indeed, just from looking at it, I've got to say that this feels and looks better built, with a more responsive, what you can actually feel the wheel doing something. On a lot of guns it's kind of very easy to move and you don't get much of anything going on for a while, but that is, you can see the amount of movement in that hop chamber there. And yes, it'll be very interesting to play with and see what we can get out of it. I don't intend to modify the hop at all. I don't think I'll need to. So it's all about the cycle speed and general responsive and response and snap of the gun. And the parts I'm looking at fitting don't have a slide lock. That gets eliminated for durability purposes. And so we're going to short strike the hell out of it. And we're going to see what we can get out of a fairly budget but decent build. So I'm glad I've unboxed this now, because it means that I can actually start playing with it properly and see what makes it tick. Very much looking forward to get the firing test done of this. Obviously that will be in the next video you see. And yeah, I'm excited for it. So stay tuned for the firing test. We're going to do a proper job on this, and I'm going to give you all the information I can. And we will be doing 50 metre tests with this to see how fast you can push out. We'll probably do 30, 40 and 50. And very much looking forward to getting into that. I'm going to get on and get me a decent set of BBs, because I want to run 2 5s, 2 8s, 3s, and maybe even like 3 2s in the testing now, to give you a good idea of whether the gun is going to be able to handle that or not. So with all that said and done, this has been a Shots Fired Airsoft video. I've been Ben. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.